I still remember the exact moment the room turned on me, not loudly, not all at once, but in that quiet, suffocating way where you realize you're alone, even though you're surrounded by people. 1 second, I was just sitting there minding my business, doing what I was told was the right thing, and the next second, a grown man in an expensive suit was pointing at me like I was something dangerous. Yeah, that happened. Let me rewind a little. This took place in Hamilton County Courthouse downtown, one of those old stone buildings that smells like paper dust and authority. I was 17 at the time, a junior in high school, taking an advanced government class that required us to observe real court proceedings. 10 hours total. No excuses. I picked a random trial on the docket, figured I'd sit quietly, take notes, and get out. I had no idea I was about to become part of the story. The man running the courtroom that day wasn't the judge, it was the defense attorney. His name was Clayton Rourke. If you live in that city, you know the name. He was famous for winning impossible cases for humiliating prosecutors for turning courtrooms into personal stages. He wore tailored suits, spoke in that sharp, polished tone, and carried himself like rules were suggestions meant for other people. His client was a real estate tycoon's son charged with siphoning millions from a public housing fund. The evidence was ugly. The mood in the room was tense, and Clayton Rourke was losing his grip. I was sitting in the back row, notebook open, writing observations like my teacher told us to do. Jury reactions, body language, tone changes. I wasn't recording, I wasn't texting. I checked my phone once to see the time because my ride was coming during recess. That's it. Apparently that was enough. Rourke was mid-argument when he stopped, squinted toward the gallery, and tilted his head like a hunting dog catching a scent. He stared straight at me. Then he smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind that says someone else is about to have a bad day. He interrupted the proceedings and announced loudly that there was a security issue. He claimed someone in the gallery was communicating with the outside, compromising his client's right to a fair trial. And then he pointed, right at me. My stomach dropped. "Stand up," he said, not asked, ordered. I stood, heart-pounding, notebook still in my hand. I could feel eyes drilling into my back. He accused me of recording, of signaling, of acting as a plant. I tried to explain I was a student there for class, just taking notes. He cut me off mid-sentence and laughed. Actually laughed. He said I didn't belong there. Said courtrooms weren't hangout spots. Said kids like me didn't understand the law anyway. When I told him he had no right to talk to me like that, his face changed. Something ugly came out. He demanded my phone, threatened to have me removed, even suggested holding me for contempt. I had never been in trouble a day in my life, and suddenly I was being treated like a criminal in front of a full courtroom. I won't lie, I was scared. But I was also angry, and maybe that's what saved me. I told him he was doing this because he was losing, that bullying a teenager wouldn't fix his case. The room gasped. He exploded, raised his voice, called for security, took a step toward me like he might grab my arm. And that's when the doors behind us slammed open so hard they echoed off the walls. Every head turned. A woman walked in wearing a dark federal jacket, boots that sounded heavy against the floor posture. Straight eyes calm. She didn't rush. She didn't yell. She walked like she knew exactly where she was going and exactly what was about to happen. That woman was my mother. Except not just my mother. She was a federal marshal. She placed herself between me and Clayton Rourke without touching either of us, looked me over once to make sure I was okay, then turned to him. He tried to speak. She raised a hand. Not aggressively. Just enough. She introduced herself to the judge calmly, professionally, then said she was there on official business. That she wasn't just picking up her child. That Mr. Rourke's name had come up in an ongoing federal investigation. You could feel the air change. Rourke tried to bluster, tried to throw his title around, tried to argue jurisdiction. My mom didn't flinch. She handed the judge a document. The judge read the header, then the first paragraph. His expression hardened. It turned out the man accusing me of signaling was the one doing exactly that, using encrypted messages, using wearable tech, moving money during trial recesses. And the reason investigators caught the pattern, because I noticed it. I had written it down as an observation for class. Something felt off. Turns out it was. Rourke was arrested right there. Cuffed. His client distanced himself instantly. The same hallway Rourke had strutted through for years became his walkout in disgrace. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Months later, the case went federal. Rourke tried to represent himself. He thought he could still control the narrative. He couldn't. When I testified, I didn't exaggerate. I didn't get emotional. I just told the truth. About the fear, about the humiliation, about how power can be abused quietly in plain sight. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on every count. Rourke lost his license, his freedom, his reputation. Everything he thought made him untouchable. Years passed. I went to law school, not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted to understand the system better than the people who used it to hurt others. I wanted to be the kind of person sitting at the table who notices the quiet stuff. The people in the back row. The last time I walked into that courthouse, I wasn't a scared teenager anymore. I was a prosecutor, and my mom was sitting quietly in the gallery smiling like she always does when she's proud but doesn't want to make a big deal about it. Here's the thing that still sticks with me. Clayton Rourke didn't lose because of some dramatic takedown. He lost because he underestimated someone he thought didn't matter. He lost because arrogance makes people sloppy. And because the truth has a way of surfacing even when you think you've buried it deep enough. So, I want to ask you something. Have you ever watched someone abuse power and get away with it? Or maybe you've seen the opposite. Someone underestimated who turned out to be the most dangerous person in the room in the best way possible. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was justice served here, or did it take too long? And if you've ever been that person in the back row quietly watching, quietly learning, remember this. You don't need permission to belong, and you never know who's paying attention.